When you first boot up DaVinci Resolve, you're going to end up here. This is where all your projects will appear. You can create folders to help you organize your footage, or you can simply create a new project and it will appear in the main menu. Let's go ahead and create a new project. Welcome to the interface. What you're going to need to pay attention to are these icons at the bottom. Right now, we're in Cut. This is where you import your footage, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. When you do this, you're going to get this warning dialog. It says you can't undo this action, and it's talking about the timeline frame rate. We're going to talk about the timeline in a second, but we don't have to worry about this because you can create a new timeline. I'm going to click change, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. Right, so we're in the Cut tab, and I would recommend going through all of the footage and sorting through it, choosing the clips that you want to keep. And how you do that is you would double click on a clip, move the red marker over. So let's say I want to use just this movement over here. So what I'll do is tap I, in, and scrub it over just a bit, and tap O for out. Now what you can do is you can drag the clip onto the timeline, and that is the section that you will have. But we're not going to be using this timeline. We're going to be using the edit timeline. In the edit section, you have more tools. I personally actually like to use this section to make selections in my footage as well. You can do the same thing here. Double click on the clip, move the red marker over, I, move it over again, O, now you have your clip. And what's super handy about this section is that you can choose between video and audio as well. So I'm going to grab this and move this over onto the timeline. Now we have video, and I'm going to press Command Z. On Windows it's Control Z. To undo, let me double click on that again. If I drag the audio over, I can do that too. Command Z. And if I click on the clip itself and move it over, then you will have just a normal clip with the audio linked. These three icons, you might want to click on them if you're struggling with the timeline, because if you accidentally click on the link button, then you end up with all sorts of weirdness going on, and that can be confusing. So Command Z, Command Z. You want to have link on, and you want to have the magnet on. So let me grab a clip from here. I, O, and then I'll drag this clip onto the timeline. And what the magnet button does is it snaps footage together. Like that. If I turn it off, the footage doesn't snap. So I will leave it on. Now, you want to be able to cut your video. So to do that, you press B. And now we have this little razor blade. One click will cut the footage. Then if you want to move the footage around, press A. That'll give you a cursor back, and that will allow you to select and move footage around. Another handy trick is clicking in the empty space and pressing the delete button. That'll remove empty space. Now let's say you want to remove audio from one of the clips. What you can do is right click on the clip and disable link clips. Now you can click on the audio clip, press the delete button, and it's gone. If I undo that, you can see that the audio clips are separate. This is helpful for if you want to layer audio onto one another. And those are the absolute basics that you will need to know. To move on, what I would recommend doing is clicking the settings icon, heading over to color management, and setting the timeline color space and the output color space to Rec 709A. And this is very complicated, but this will stop the export file's color looking different from when you're editing it, which can be quite frustrating. And this is specifically on Mac, but I've heard that it works on Windows too. Right, so what are the other tabs? Over here we have Fusion. This tab is for special effects. We won't be going into that. Then we have the Color tab, and this is where you do all of your color grading. It uses a node-based system, so it's quite different to Photoshop or tools that use layers. But you can think of this as a sideways layer system. What you want to do is right-click over here, click Add Node Corrector, and that gives you another layer in a sense. And then what you want to do is just link them together. And now what I can do is over here, let me go over here first. Let's say I want to make it a bit warmer, pull up the tint a bit, maybe I'll pull up the detail, lower the saturation a bit, and if I click on the node and then press Command D, that disables it and enables it. So here we have before and after, and then what I was doing over here is this is essentially the translucency slider. So how much of the effect I want to add. If I want to apply this effect to the other clips, then what I can do is just Command C, and I'll actually apply the effect to this node over here. So Command V, Command V. So what I did was I just clicked on the node and then pressed Command V on each of the clips. Right, then we have Fairlight. This is where you edit audio, you can add effects for audio processing, and then you want to export your clip. So you're going to click over here on Deliver, and you're going to use I and O for in and out at the beginning and the end. File name goes here, location, let's say I want to save it in downloads, save it in downloads. H.264 and H.265 are basic video files. You'll want to use one of those. H.264 processes better for YouTube. Timeline resolution, oh, that's what I wanted to show you, but I'll do it in a second. Quality, all of these settings look good. Then you're going to click Add to Render Queue and Render All, and that'll render your video. Back in Edit, we've been editing in the timeline. If you right click in some empty space, you can create a new timeline. And then if you uncheck this Use Project Settings button, you can change the format. You can use vertical resolution for Instagram. You can change the resolution and the timeline frame rate. That'll be important at some point. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. It's late this night, so I'm going to go to sleep. I'll see you in the next video.